Yoke's ready.
Can we jump on this plane now?
Yes, like this way. Madagascar week.
Blood running through my veins. I hit hard like a hurricane. Mind sharp like a razor blade. I'm a knockout, knockout. There's no doubt. I'm a champion. Got gold hanging from my neck. Lion's pride lives in my chest. Ain't no man put me to the test. Ain't no doubt that I'm the best. I'm a knockout, knockout. There's no doubt. I'm a champion.
Madagascar madness.
Madagascar madness.
How's it, guys? Welcome to the weekly wrap-up here out of Byron Kane's house for Go Fish.
The Bra House.
The Bra Pawsey.
Pawsey.
We've gate crashed today. BK, I don't know if you're going to be...
Mary's birthday.
Yeah, gate crashed Byron's wife's birthday, Mary Kane.
Swiss Army wife's birthday.
Thanks for cooking dinner, Mary.
Medium rare.
Yeah, he's got to deal with that in the morning. It's not going to be our problem. But Mary's sweet and kind enough. I don't think she's going to give him too much uphill. But guys, tonight we are going to be going over some of our favorite experiences and moments from the time we started this little endeavor a couple of months ago. We're going to be moving into a couple of the wrap-ups and some of the tips that we've been given over the period of time that we've been going for so far, and some of them have been incredible. The information that that's been shared with us and you guys, the people that we've met. There's some really interesting and exciting stuff that we've experienced over the last couple of months and doing this weekly wrap up and just this whole experience that we've been through. Guys, it's good to have the band back together finally.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for making it back, Mr. COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Yeah, it was touch and go there for a bit. Man flu's quite something.
It was
to
escalated by 200.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the sad thing is that I got it, and I was walking around like a flippin' scolded puppy, feeling sorry for myself for 7 days there. Body ache, and the flu got me, I got the black lung, all this sort of thing. Then my missus gets me and she's got no symptoms at all. So she gets COVID and got no symptoms at all. So look, I mean, it is a serious thing, obviously, but we've come out the other side of it and hopefully we can get back to fishing as soon as possible. But chaps...
But that's also why we had to hold things, because we had to
rather safe than sorry, yeah?
Yeah,
away
exactly.
From everyone for a while, so.
Exactly, yeah, 100%, Brendan. But I think for us, when we started this thing a couple of months ago, guys, I don't think we realized kind of like the
kick off.
Yeah, and how it was going to kick off, and also the attention from anglers wanting this information. I mean, it's been an incredible
Well,
experience.
that was the whole idea of it when we sat and we talked about it. Was, let's start something, a show, a live that teaches. That shows people this is what we do at this time. And I must say, I watch Byron's, I watch yours. When Brendan gets in the water, I'll squiz at his, because you learn from
Once a
each
year.
other. Once a year. You learn from each other, and that's what hopefully the anglers out there in SA, and I must say New Zealand, who was our speech? Australia, Canada,
Ireland.
all over. Hopefully they're learning too.
Yeah.
So I think what we set out to achieve, which was the teaching part, just escalated to tenfold.
Byron, for you, what has been your sort of favorite experience since we've sort of started this thing? What has been like the thing that sticks out in your head?
Besides taking me on your boat.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I think very much what Ali said when we did start out, and was just about to give back. I mean, as I said, I think I've said it before in quite a few shows. Fishing's been very good to me, and I do really love being on the water. Guys, did you catch any? Your day is destroyed, and it's not really. For me, just to be on the water now is awesome. But yeah, I was really just to give back, and to share whatever knowledge I have, and also, to learn from others, as you said. We're all watching each other, steal with your eyes. But one of the biggest things that stuck out with me is we had a reunion at Durban Ski Boat Club about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and a lot of the older guys there, the guys that I looked up to and that I started fishing with when I was sort of 8 years old. They were, maybe not all those guys are still there, but there were some of them. And for me, what stuck out was just that those guys came up and said, "Shit, we're watching the show, it's amazing, really enjoying it." And these are guys that I looked up to and still look up to in terms of fishing and learn from, and these are the guys who took me fishing. So even for them to be saying it's a great show and it's so different, it's it's awesome what you guys are doing. That for me, what really stood out for me, just for at that time.
Yeah.
It's really been a big win for me.
And Brendan, I mean, for you, what has kind of stuck out? I mean, we've been on a long road before this with Go Fish. I think from the brand perspective and just the I know from my side, just with the amount of people that have been coming up to me and saying, "Hey, listen, thanks so much for giving back the information, all that sort of thing," and just I think we've had more attention on the brand from starting this thing.
That's the nice part. But like Byron's saying, is that people like enjoying watching and learning what not just what we have to give out, because it's not not just about us.
Yeah.
It's about guys we've brought on with a little bit of tips and tricks, like that when Ellie and I were at Tekwini with Clint on the video.
Yeah.
I mean, flip, we just sat there just sucking
just
all that
sucking all the
knowledge in.
information,
It's just the knowledge you gain from different people, and just like being on trips with you guys, with Byron and Eddie, and obviously we fished quite a lot together.
Yeah.
But I've yet to jump on and cling on and shoot out with Ellie on the back of his jet ski yet. But I've gone on the boat with Byron a few times, and you just learn so much more. But and I think that's the highlight, is actually just learning from what we actually putting out as well. I think that's it.
I think just like finishing off on it, and to you guys that are watching and that support us in that, and we cannot thank you enough for watching and getting involved and putting questions to us, because that's what it's all about. A lot of you guys, I think a lot of guys, I mean, I know it, if in previous experiences you feel a little bit too sort of standoffish when you see a guy that's in front of the camera and you see someone that's like more of a celebrity type appearance, which is definitely not what we are. And the thing is, what we want and what's going to continue this is for you guys to come up to us and say to us, "Hey, how do you do this? Hey, great to see this. Let's have a bit more of that," whatever it is. And that's what I've found has been the most fantastic experience for me. Is I love it. Like, I mean, I was on the beach 2 days ago with my little one, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey, hey, my latte saw you walk past, and he says that's from Go Fish," and the oak was, he just felt like he could come up and chat to me and say, "Hey, listen," which is flippin' incredible. That is what it is all about, And for us to impart knowledge and marks and whatever it is to you guys, that's what this platform is all about for you. And long may it continue from our side. Long may it continue from you guys supporting us and asking us questions and keeping us going. So a big thanks to you guys for that. We've obviously had the opportunity to fish a couple of different destinations, which has been fantastic. In that line of things, we've also been able to meet a lot of different people. And I think a big shout out to a couple of people that we've been able to fish with over the destinations that we visited. Reino from Versagi. What a flippin' gem of an oak.
Brilliant.
Unfortunately, he's leaving Sudwana to head up to Pemba and Mozambique and set up another operation there. But what an absolute pearl of an oak, and his father as well. Guys like Guy and Paul Nixon, Guy Logan and Paul Nixon. Orky as well. Clint, Faith Latchan and Charles and Adam and all these guys that have.
Adam Waits.
Adam Waits.
But all of you oaks that have just bought into what we're doing and enjoying it and just are so free to share your information, that's what makes this so special for us. And we've learned a hell of a lot out of those people, and I know you guys have as well. So a big shout out to all of you guys that keep these live streams going by bringing information and all that to us. We're going to move into a couple of the live streams. We've chosen a couple of little snippets from our live stream wrap-ups that we've done since the beginning of September, and we're going to be playing one or two of those videos for you guys tonight, and we're going to be divulging and chatting a little bit about that. There's been a couple of really good gems from a couple of the fishermen. We're starting off with Ali with his drop shots and how he smarts to paint them with his missus' nail polish and all that sort of thing. But it's
We laughed, but they were.
yeah, that grafts. So we're going to be choosing a couple of snippets, guys. If you haven't seen all the live stream wrap-ups, it's really worth going back and having a look at all these wrap-ups that we've done every Thursday. We're going to kick it off with Ali's one right here. Cam, are you ready there for the video? Here we go.
Hold that. But what I want to do is firstly show you the heads that I use. So here are some different size heads. These are mustard. And I tell you what, that colour, the red colour, has done very well for me. There's something that's come out from mustard, and I just like it because of the shape, is they brought out a white one. And something that Kirk laughs at me about is, my colouring skills. So, guys, if you want to get your wives involved in fishing,
Your kids.
yeah,
Kids.
go to your missus's vanity case, take all of the colours of nail polish that you can find, and put them on your boat.
Yeah. Ali uses his own vanity case.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, you're going to laugh. But everything that I buy is in white. Okay, this is my MacArthur split tail, and these are paddle tails. Okay. And then what I've done, and strangely enough, I'm going to show you one now. Yeah.
Any serious one?
Yeah. And guys, if you ever go to Ponta, you go and buy those, because I don't know what it is, but the red and white works.
Yeah.
I have got no idea why. I can put blue and white, I can put green and white, it doesn't work. But red and white gets the bite. So what
All right, so you can get into that a little bit later if you want and watch it afterwards. We're going to dissect it a bit with Ali right next to us here. In that video, you're chatting about those red jig heads that you say absolutely deadly up there in Ponto, and then moving into colouring in those drop shots, which I saw from Brad Arthur in 2008 at the Pandan Comp, where he actually cleaned everyone's pipes with that exact technique, with that grey and white drop shot. Give us a little bit of insight from your side on that, how you found out
it's
about it.
It's actually quite strange. My honest belief as a fisherman, and that's why we love sitting around the table, is colour to me doesn't matter. The different shades, and I understand colour from what I do. So you get different, if for argument's sake, if I had to take this can and then make it monotone, it would come out a certain dark colour. And if you had to take a purple and make it monotone, it comes a different dark colour. And some different dark colours work. Now that's my view. You've got a light colour, but it's actually dark and monotone. and then you've got a dark color, which is actually dark and monotone. And that's where I got the coloring for drop shots. And I'll tell you what, on one of the streams that I did, you'll see there I've got the dark drop shot with a light head. And I think it's just that contrast. But I mean, I caught 22 fish in about an hour and a half, shot for shot. I tried a jig, it didn't work. I tried a different color because I actually ran out of those things. It didn't work, so I went back to my pen and colored it in. So from me understanding, you know, when you take a picture of your family and then you right click and you say monotone, you see the different contrast in colors.
And you go right click and crop.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. As long as Kirk's out, we're good. And bucktails the same. You know, right now I buy white bucktails and I color them in. I've got the whole Orky range, and you know, I'll color one, I'll throw it for a while because the fish are there, and that's the funny thing. Is, you know, we think we're catching nothing. The fish are there.
Yeah.
If you had, and I had and this is the power of what we do. I had a spear fisherman phone me, a Gavin who I met at Ponta, you know, in February, and he's like, you know, he goes under the water and he just sees all the fish.
Yeah.
And it's true what he says, even at where I fish, Salmon Bay. You know, the oaks there, they're catching nothing, they blank, but the fish are swimming past, but they just don't want what you've got on offer.
Yeah.
Change
That's
it.
exactly how.
So that's my view.
What would you say are your when you're sitting there on your jet ski and you put down a plain colored drop shot as your first one or whatever? What are your sort of what are your top 3 colors that you'll try straight after that?
Well, firstly, I'll always start with a glow head early in the morning. So glow head, what I've got on my ski is a UV torch. I charge it up.
Yeah.
A glow head with a white drop shot. Normal white 5 to 7 inch drop shot. That doesn't work. To me, blue is the color of the ocean. You know, I don't know why. I mean, the oaks pull blue Konas, blue lures, the Helco sardine, the Williamson Speed Pro, blue. So yeah, then what I'll start doing is blue stripes on it. But also the key is where you're fishing. Look at the bait fish. So down by us, strangely enough, all the Dorado are eating sand soldiers. I mean, no one's got bait and vidal, so they're pinning sand soldiers and catching kuta and Dorado. So what color would you color it in then?
Yeah.
Red.
Yeah.
So like there,
That's
if I look at a
natural.
sand soldier, it's that big. So I'd color that much of the drop shot in red. You know, it looks there and thereabout. Probably use a red head.
Yeah.
Other than that, then I start going to the tail, just changing the tail colors. And yeah, those are probably the top 3 I choose.
But I think when you're talking there contrast, is that, you know, that when you say redhead, you know, a lot of lures come at red and white.
Yeah.
And I think it is key, that contrast is key, because when you see a fish swimming in the water, a lot of them have got like a dark top and then they're lighter underneath, and that's to sort of hide themselves from the predators. And then if they're moving slightly, that's when the predator comes in and sees them, and that's the contrast that
you remember. And that's also, I mean, it's about the depth of the water you're fishing in, and also how much light's generated in the water. So clean, the quality of the water, as well, if it's clean or off. But I mean, I remember someone else said it in also one of the shows, and it was something you learn when you're diving. The first color that does disappear is red. So you can actually assume that
It actually turns
dark.
like
It's going to go
dark.
Exactly.
Dark.
So red and white is actually like a dark and a white.
Yeah.
So it's like a contrasted off color. So it might even look like it could be another fish chasing another fish in front of it. A small. If you think about the head, it's that big, body like that. So it could look like a small fish chasing a smaller bait fish chasing an even smaller fish. You know, so it looks natural, and then the bigger fish.
And that's
comes
probably
and
why
climbs in.
Ponta works so well with red and white, is because it's so clean.
Yeah.
So down at, I mean, we drop shot at 40, 50 meters, am I right?
Yeah.
So down there, it's clean as a pool.
Yeah.
But there's still that clarity for the fish to see, that contrast. Down by Belito, mud's pulled in, that color might not work. People, or the fish can't even see it anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe a brighter color would work.
Yeah.
You know, that makes it more noticeable.
And I think just finishing off on that with regards to sand soldiers working. I mean, a case in point, when we had the Pumula comp down, I think it was probably about 2 years ago, and we were chatting to, I was chatting to one of the local guys there. I think it was Greg DeFilippi, if I'm not mistaken, and he said to me, and it's a bait fish I would have never thought would have worked well for kudo, but we've used it to target copper steenbras down in Transkei, but a flippin' goldfish. It's like a pink. It's a horrendous looking thing, bro. It's like a pink. It's like a pinky orange,
Right.
and it's got these tassels.
I actually
at the
caught
bottom,
one
at
on
the chin.
Byron's boat, remember?
And
We caught one in Shelley.
one of the
Those
best eating
oaks,
fish ever.
They hammer the kudo on those goatfish off of down at Hibberdine the area. I mean, that's a flippin'.
Yeah.
I don't have. I was telling me a
often
story.
toss
there,
away
but,
the bycatch, thinking, "Oh, this is not the bait we're after."
Yeah.
Like that, those lizard fish.
Lizard
as well,
yeah.
same thing.
And we got
Lizard
charm
fish,
and everything,
sand soldiers. You always chuck them there.
yeah.
I always keep
100%.
sand soldiers because
You never know.
the
Back
thing
up
is, the
bait.
problem with when you say often there's a lot of sand soldiers, and you're struggling for anything else. So keep those sand
Yeah.
soldiers and pin it.
Right, the next one we're going to move into is the next clip. We're not going to show the actual clip itself, but we're just going to chat a little bit about it. And it's a wrap up that we did in St. Lucia with a chap by the name of Orky Tuna, a guy that is just absolutely besotted with his fishing. So much so his garage is just like it's like a tackle store. Walking in there with all the finest gear on the walls, and it's unbelievable.
It's Christmas
He's
coming
pedantic. Yeah,
Come and visit you, okay?
yeah.
Except you can't fit into the garage because that massive boat you got.
Yeah, exactly. And you know he's a South African light tackle boat angler as well, so he knows this thing. And just what he was chatting to us about there, I don't know if you watched that show as well,
Yeah, I did, yeah.
BK. And he was chatting. He started off by chatting about small profiled spoons for snook. He chatted specifically about snook in the beginning. Small profiled spoons for snook, making sure you're the first boat out on the water to target those snook. Because at one stage when that river was open, they were getting a lot of snook. And now with that river closed, they're a little bit more scarce. Unless there's obviously sprats in the water, then you know they tend to hold on those sprats. But they don't hold in that area anymore. So it was vital to get out on the water first. It was imperative that you matching small profiled baits. And then he went on to talk about red eyes and how he uses those to target snook with as a live bait.
Yeah.
And how he goes on and how he catches the bait. So he moves into 16 to 17 meters of water off the point at Mopelan, and then he'll go and get his red eye there. And as soon as he gets his red eye, he's got a bait box there with ice and seawater in, and he's got a cold towel in there. Grabs a cold towel, grabs the red eye, puts it in his hand, and immediately makes the red eye stop vibrating like that. And he pins that red eye on a very small single, like a number 20 VMC live bait. Bridle rigs it and sticks that out straight away for snook. And he reckons that, I mean, he's held he's won the competition there 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And he catching monster snook that way. That for me, just on that wrap up show, was just such an education from Orky on his traces. I've got one or two of them here that he actually gave me to fish with that one day. Just such an lacquer oak, and he fishes exceptionally light. Huh?
You obviously didn't use it.
No, I didn't. But he fishes exceptionally light. I mean, this is number 4 wire here from a very small power swivel. It's a number 6 power swivel. I'll show you the actual trace now. Chad, but that there is his snook trace. Now that snook trace there is his fillet trace. Okay. Now you can see how that hook moves around, the freeness of that hook moving around, and it's something. You got it in shot there, Cam. Now it's something. Now he's got a little weight. He's got a little weight on top there, on the top with a little glow bead on the bottom, just for a bit of extra attraction. The weight on the top is just to get the bait a little bit below the surface. It also helps when you've got a bit of wind around as well, just to keep your baits in line and not getting your line blowing around that from the wind. But that movement in the hook is something that I've learnt. Like we fish for a lot of snook down south, in Umco and that, and off Blue Lagoon as well. That's where I started fishing for snook and that. But I stiff rigged my snook traces in the beginning. Now, for the guys that don't know what stiff rigged is, it means that your trace wire, actually you wrap your trace wire around the hook, and then back up the actual trace wire, so it's keeping that hook stiff. And what I actually found was I changed that to this free hook like that. I tie a little bit differently, but the concept and that is exactly the same. And what that does is when that snook gets near the boat, it's got quite a soft mouth, as we all know, but he gets near the boat and he's got those head shakes, he goes mad with his head shakes and he takes another run. And what that freeness of that hook does is it just allows that hook to stay in that fish's mouth when he's making all those vicious movements, so that it holds in there. With a stiff rig, that it's more inclined to throw the hook and spit the hook, And it's just little tips like that from Orky that we learned. The other one was fishing plastics, and he was saying about the trace wire versus the mono, where he said that he had a diver that was in the water, and he had 3 or 4 plastics out, Speed Pros out, with wire on them, and he reckons the diver could hear that wire
Singing,
in the water.
yeah.
Could hear it coming past him in that water, and that's something.
It's not what the fish can see then.
It's
the noise.
It's the noise factor, and the vibration, I suppose. So he was saying that you trawl 4 lures with wire on them when you're fishing for wahoo. You're not gonna. You very rarely get a pickup, right? Unless those wahoo are loose in that, but you very rarely get a pickup. And he always pulls mono and wire, and if he gets charred off, then you might switch all to trace wire or whatever. But there definitely is a bit of just something to think about. There definitely is and we know it as well. Once you start putting wire in front of anything, changes the action, and your bite ratio goes
Right down.
Right down.
And just going back to red eyes, I mean, guys, that is a deadly bait, and a lot of guys just don't think to swim it live. If you pin a red eye straight away as you catch it, it stays alive.
Yeah.
You can pin him through the back, you can pin him through the front of his mouth. Just don't pin him inside his mouth. Go from the side through his nose or behind the head, and he stays alive. And believe me,
he's a hardy bait.
If there's a fish in the water, you're gonna go tight. You're gonna try that thing. They will not leave that red eye alone, especially when he's spitting scales everywhere when he's on his way
What kills
down.
him is when he goes mad, flapping like that. He kills himself.
Yeah, so
When
it's
you get him back in the water.
as you catch him, straight leave everything. Just make sure you got a rig ready, straight off through the back. I normally use him for yellowfin as well. Deadly bait. You can sit there with a live mackerel. I'd have sat there for half an hour. I caught a red eye, pinned it while I was still letting it out on.
Yeah.
So the fish was there, just didn't want the mackerel.
You just need to be careful of those red eyes when you're fishing with your kayak, because the one day I was fishing off the barge there, might have been a bit embarrassing, but I picked the bloody line up like that, and all the red eyes were vibrating on the top there. One dropped off and went in between my legs there like it. Vibrated by my nether regions. And I just had to take a moment there while the oak finished vibrating. So you just need to be careful of that, boys, because it can. But yeah, just a little tip there, chaps. But this was one of the traces that Orky also
That COVID
gave us a bit of
loosen up a couple of wires.
clogged up the mind there a bit there. But this is one of the traces that Orky was showing us as well. He's got number 3 wire in the front. I'm just trying to get my. Can you check it? Get my finger there in the middle of the trace. So that trace there with that sliding treble, the single on the front, the sliding treble in the middle, and then the single at the back. He fishes IGFA in his competitions in that, and obviously you're not allowed trebles in IGFA, but he prefers to fish the singles, and then he puts that trap sliding treble there as well in the middle, and he finds for kuda in that.
Yeah, I use that. I
Picks
must
up.
say,
You also
it
use
works
it,
like
eh?
an absolute bomb.
Really, yeah.
A lot of the time, that treble is on the top of the head, and that's what's holding the fish.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You can leave that chat with me, thanks.
Take it and go. Take it and go.
Thanks.
The next one we want to move on to is we're targeting Gielbeck with Byron at Natal Powerboats when we were there the other day, and it's more on the fact of changing your trace up to suit the bite. Byron, you the one thing that I picked up from that video when you were chatting about it is your position of the bait in relation to your sinker for various different species,
Yeah.
like Darga and Gielbeck and that, especially, and then Cracker that sit more towards the bottom,
Yeah.
and how you are positioning your bait in relation to that. I mean, that was
Yeah, I think it's very much. There's so many variables, and I think it's even like you were saying earlier about when you're fishing on with drop shots and everything. It's the same thing on bottom fishing. You got to understand the structure that you're fishing on. So you're fishing on very big reef. You got to think that the fish could actually be sitting in line with the top of the reef, but that's actually 3 or 4 meters up in the air. And if you're fishing next to the reef with your trace, and you got a 1 meter sinker, you're fishing 2 meters below where the fish are. So normally on big reef or fish with longer sinkers to get the baits and to cover more area and also fish between if you've got 2 hook trace, fish between it with a longer snoot as well, so that you also then very yellowtail as well sitting up higher, so you'll have a longer in between hook snoot and a sinker snoot. And then like you said, coppers and cracker and that sort of thing, sometimes they're on smaller reef just with like ledges and that sort of thing, so they're nearer to the bottom as well because they obviously feeding on crustacean mainly. I'd fish then with shorter snook. But you mix it up. You've got to mix it up and have one guy fishing one way on the boat, one guy fishing the other way, and then you see what starts working.
yeah.
And then model to that. Same as fishing for anything. Fishing with game fish, cooter. Someone's getting the pulls all the time. What's he doing? He's got a duster. He's fishing a 6-ounce.
Putting options out. Yeah.
So it's very much a learning thing. But you got to work it up and you got to change it up all the time, just like anything in fishing. I think.
And the other thing you were chatting about is on that Gielbeck trace is your top hook had a squid on it, a glow squid.
Yeah, it's a Yamashita glow.
Yeah.
And that just gives you more options. And I generally fish a dead bait on the top, live bait on the bottom. And other guys mix it up and it does work as well. I'm not saying you mustn't have a live bait on the top. But just put a sard on the top. Obviously, if it starts getting broken up by smaller fish, it attracts fish around, almost creating chum. But if he does come and have a go at the sard and gets it off, they generally will come back and have another go at the glow skirt.
As well, yeah.
Have a go at the glow skirt. And so you get a second chance with them on the side. Yeah. So definitely the glow skirt works. On most of my traces, even on a 2 or 3 hook trace I'm fishing for reds and whatnot, I'd still have a glow skirt on at least one of them. Just it does bring the fish in.
And then the last one was when you were battling with that copper bite, and you actually shortened. You scale down on the hook size and you shorten the distance between
we were
the bite trace.
We were getting the bite, but it was so shy. That basically your mackerel was getting stolen, but we weren't getting the bites enough to feel it. And I was fishing a normal 2 hook 9 trace, longish snoots. We normally fish the longer snoots, especially for doggers and for fish that are scallop, cracker, and that's when you end up fishing a long snoot. That's the way always we fish. And just wasn't getting the bite, so scaled down and actually went to smaller hooks, shortened up on the trace, so the snoot was only about 400. And all of a sudden you could feel the bite immediately, and then got 1 or 2 very good fish like that. So you've got to keep changing it up. It's like anything with fishing. It doesn't matter what aspects of fishing you're doing. If it's not working, it's not just trawling around or carrying on doing the same thing. You've got to change it up and try something different. Same as changing the colours and that.
Yeah, it plays exactly what Ellie was talking about earlier.
You've got to find out what's working.
Yeah.
But we do that often. We will sit there and just flog a dead horse.
Look, and sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it does.
But also, like you
get that
leave
feeling.
Your bait out, and so many oaks, like top anglers. The more top anglers you talk to, how often they check their bait all the time. Every 10, 15 minutes. And often guys are coming to the sport new and they'll leave their bait out for like half an hour, 40 minutes. They reel the thing and think, oh, it's gone. I think it's probably gone 5 minutes into their drift.
Especially if you're in an area where other oaks are getting fish.
Yeah.
You've got to think immediately, hey, don't just sit there idle and go, oh geez, I'm not getting any pulls, no bite bait today. You've got to change up to the oaks are getting pulls, there's a reason they're getting pulls. Try and steal with your eyes and change up to suit the
and
suit
work.
bite.
Don't be lazy.
Yeah, exactly. The next one I want to just go on to is, Lawrence has been a good supporter of ours for a long time. Go Fish and yourself, Byron, and that, and their hook range at the moment is a absolutely very versatile range, beautiful range that they've got on these skis. A lot of guys are using them, but that skim stick, skim transducer. I mean that's been a game changer.
Yeah, it's definitely a massive game changer. I mean, it's been out for some time, but I think just a lot of guys have just battled to set it up correctly on the boat, so where it's positioned on the transom, and therefore maybe haven't actually seen the benefit of it. But I mean, to be able to travel at 40 k's an hour and get a clear bottom reading and pick up any type of depth change, it is a game changer. It means you can go anywhere, even places you don't know, and cover ground. And while you're covering ground, actually see new reef and find new reef. So it's not about just going to one mark that you've got and fishing the same mark that everyone else has got and going to the next mark, but traveling and seeing a small bump or a small drop off, or even just picking up bait. So you go to the bait spot, there's no bait, but 100, 200 meters away, you're going at 40 k's an hour, and there you see bait. And we've seen that on a couple of the playbacks and live streams that we've had. We've been going to the bait spot, and here's the bait. Go down and haul a mackerel, then go to the bait spot, and there's nothing on the bait spot. Or it's just loaded with shad. So it is definitely a massive, massive game changer, and that's why it's so important to make sure that you set up your transducer correctly. And I was glad I could help Ratchy today get his transducer set up. Ratchy, well done.
But I think it's vitally important to make sure that you do set up your transducer correctly, and that skim transducer is not an expensive item to put on your ski or on your boat, and making sure that you do invest in something like that. I feel, and I know the rest of the guys that are sitting alongside me feel, that it is, you cannot not have that skim transducer on your boat. It is just that invaluable to us as anglers to be able to pick up, like Byron says, spots between the spot that you actually are traveling to. So make sure you get hold of Lawrence for that skim transducer. It is an absolute game changer, and you can chat to Liz about that in installation.
Put it on a kayak, because I paddle really fast. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put on for you.
The next thing we're moving into is a couple of tuna tips. Paul Nixon has been an absolute machine for us with regards to just the tuna tips that he's been shared. They shared with us some paddling tips, as well as obviously Reel Service KZN that he owns. So any of your reels that you need serviced, he's the oak to chat to.
Tips he's got now, nappy changing tips.
Some nappy. Yeah, he's just had a lighty as well, so
Paul,
he's snowed under there. But congrats from all of us.
Finding your feet there, bud.
I hope you're not allowed to fish for a long time, so we can get a chance.
The day the lighty was born.
Like this, he was fishing the day of his lighty birth.
Don't rub it in.
But
Been warned so many times.
But just on that wrap up, and guys, remember, these are all wrap ups that we've covered. You just need to go back and have a look for Go Fish Weekly Wrap Up, and you'll find all this information. But some of the information that Paul and Ali covered that night at Ali's place was specific things, just like snooting, how you actually snoot your live baits and that. The thermoclines, paying attention to that, which I'll get into with Ali in a few seconds. Your traces, and just how you fishing different abrasion lines, so that your hooks, fishing circle hooks to avoid the abrasion that is being put on your line, and how that circle hook actually works into the corner of that fish's mouth to avoid the abrasion on the line. But more importantly, Al, you fish a lot of tuna, and I mean that's your species. But
No, that's my favourite friend, I must say. The power, the run, the start to finish fight. That fish never tires, and when he does tire, he goes in circles underneath you.
Yeah.
To me, like I said, I was reading watching the angler profile that our good man Cam did, and it's true. To catch a tuna on a bucktail is my happy day.
100%. Yeah.
No, so for you it's a tuna on a bucktail. For me it's a kuta on a bucktail.
Yeah.
So it is. It's just
it's direct. As that fish hits you, there's no run. There's no tighten the drag or sect it. You're holding that rod, and that first run is you.
You've done that.
It's the full experience.
Yeah. And just chatting more on, guys asked a hell of a lot of questions about water temperature and a little bit about thermoclines. Just quickly cover that for us with regards to tuna and fishing up in Belito.
Thermocline, firstly, let me go through, and maybe Byron can jump in here. He knows his fish finder very well. But to the guys who are out there watching us saying, what is a thermocline? How do you see a thermocline? You know, ask yourself, do you know? And I can tell you, when you're driving on your jet ski or your boat now, and you know how I see it on my fish finder is, it's almost like haze. Am I
Yeah,
right?
It's like a shaded area.
Yeah, it's a shaded, it's little
Consistent,
dots. And
yeah.
the best place to actually see it is in Sodwana, because you're fishing at 200-300 meters deep. You know, we don't get to that.
Yeah.
On a 20, 25, 30 meter, you won't see a thermocline. Yeah, or you're going to be very good
soft.
to do it.
Yeah, very
But
soft.
when you're fishing 100 meters, you'll actually see your fish finder just have a slight line on it. And, you know, the top color is different to the bottom. Now, when you see a thermocline, and Faith, she'll tell you, I mean, me and her had a chat about it, you stop the boat, you drop the baits. Because the fish know that temperature difference. And they sit on that thermocline, maybe in the colder side, warmer side, you don't know. But they like that temperature difference. So, guys, when you're driving, it's not always looking about the floor. You know, it's not always looking about, I'm going to see a red ball
Pinnacle,
with
all that
kuta
stuff, yeah.
on top of it. You're looking for anything. And one good thing to look for is that thermocline. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the bush. Stop, put your bait down.
Yeah, you can sometimes see it, and not. It's not often, like you say. I mean, but you'll speak to the divers, and they'll say, "Hey, the last 5 meters was ice cold." You know, and if you start focusing on it and looking at it, you'll see then maybe in like at the 20 meter line, you'll just see that there's like a slightly shaded area, that's coming through on your sounder. It's also what palette color that you choose as well. So, for me, when I'm fishing on the bottom, I go to blue background. Then it's not actually the right thing. I mean, that's something John told me as well. You know, you need to be fishing with a white background. So you need to choose your palette color that you have a white background. Then your thermoclines are going to show up more clearly on it. So that's just something to bear in mind as well.
Okay. I mean, some awesome information from the guys there, and Faith actually goes through on our latest pro tip on an actual thermocline and explains a little bit about that. So check that one out. The final one we're going to finish with was, I think, a bit of a sort of mind blow for everyone. You hosted that show at Toyota with Clint Norkia. Also, sorry, another oak we need to say thank you to, Clint. A massive thanks for that one, but you know, he was chatting about Vital, and a lot of the tips and techniques that he was chatting about we can relay in fishing anywhere. But you know, Vital, he was chatting about having a you want to fish it after sort of a 2 to 3 day light northeast. I think, you know, sort of pulls that current, it gets that current going there, and into sort of backing up west. So as that west backs up, fishing just before that west backs up, he was getting a lot. But one of the things that he was saying, and it's something that is so hard at Vital to get generally, is bait. Unless you're the first boat out there, you puzzle for bait. I mean, the first two or three boats. As soon as you get more than that bait just dissipates. It doesn't like boat pressure.
Yeah.
And what he was saying is he just gets a little chum bag. Obviously, it has some holes in it and whatnot. He fills it with old sards and dead baits and that, and he just hangs that chum bag off of the back of his boat, and he actually tries to keep that bait with the boat. Especially, it also helps in places where there's strong current, to try and keep that live bait with the boat. I mean, that's something just that you only get out of experience. I mean, you know, and I mean that for me was a flippin' and valuable tip for any area.
Yeah, that's, and there were two other things as well, which unfortunately, Clint, I was
Hook
listening.
placement.
I was listening, yeah. So there was one thing: dark hooks on a dark bait, light hooks on a light bait, and then also hook placement. So if you're fishing on the left-hand side of the boat, place the hooks on the inside of the fish.
Yeah.
So left-hand side of the boat, facing forward, you place the hooks on the inside, on the right-hand side of the fish. If the fish is on the right side, your bait's on the right side, you place the hooks on this side.
Because the kuta comes from the side.
Yeah.
It's just those little things that make it
Small gems, guys.
100%.
Don't
Yeah.
miss them.
Mine
That's the
was,
difference
and I
between him
actually-
getting one and you getting none.
I actually did it today while I was doing a recce off Belito, and I've never forgotten it, and it's true. I sat, I had baits out, I was drifting for once in my life, different, there was wind, and I just carried on catching bait. And I caught bait, I took them, I dropped it, and I threw it up, and I threw it, and I threw it left, and I threw it, and I just spent 20 minutes catching bait and throwing it back.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
All of that coming through the
everything
water
coming out.
column, splashing on the
Yeah.
surface, all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I mean, I even use the tips, you know, and that's the great thing. That's how you catch more.
Yeah.
Is listen to what's going
But
on.
it just gets the fish interested. Like even when you
It's a
when
change.
you,
It's
when
a
you're
change.
paddling,
It's a change.
it was I think it was Dwayne Roberts. He says he flicks his pedal every now and again.
Salies,
Just
like
to
they
get
reckon
the
Salies can't
tuna
resist it.
excited and wondering what that noise is, then they come check your bait.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean that technique there that you're talking about and bringing up bait up there and creating disturbance throughout the whole water column is an old trick that has been used by Kuta fishermen for years. You fish down at areas south of Port Edward, like in that Sekombe area, near that Sekombe line there, and those oaks are anchored. And that's all they do. They put their Kuta baits out, and the rest of the oaks all bottom fish. Two oaks off the gunnels there, bottom fishing and bringing up all those little slingers and bringing up all those
Put them
little
back,
fish,
put them back, swimming down, breaking up bait, chum, so it's almost creating a chum line behind the boat going out as they're eating the bait and squid and all that off the bottom traces as
Do you know
well.
what's
spitting out
Working
off,
all the time.
You know, as a jet ski angler, and I mean, I've seen it. I had it in Belen. I had it actually every single place I fished, and the guys that I fish with down in Belito, you'll always get, two jet skis coming together, the oaks floating, you're talking a bit of nonsense, and then you go, and when you go, you don't drive off and obey the speed limit. You flat tap. And you flat tap from start, and you go. And the minute you go, and you're probably about 50 meters away, the oaks rod goes because of the bubble train. I actually had old Tashius. I laughed. He's doing donuts in the ocean yesterday. He's doing he's almost playing. But what he does is, or from what I can see, is he created all of this commotion of doing donuts and on his 1800 Yamaha, and then he puts his baits out after that because it brings all the fish up. It was actually quite.
Because you're going to cause box ups on the back line.
Oh, mate.
It's true. No, but it's true because when a bait ball's getting attacked, it's just this frenzy of just splashing and bubbles.
And the one thing that Clint was saying that I also took out of there is that he fishes very light from a number 6 swivel or number 5 power swivel for his live bait traces, number 4 wire to his lead hook, and then in between his lead hook and his treble, he fishes a 45-pound bleeding leader American fishing wire. And he reckons exactly what you were saying and what the other oaks were saying. Red's the first color that disappears. So he fishes that red bleeding leader on his live baits, and he reckons that is what he gets. And then he obviously colors in his trebles. The coloring in of the trebles is basically if you're fishing silver on the top side on a mackerel, for instance, on the sort of dark part of a mackerel. And he changes it according to the live bait. So on the mozzie, he'll keep the silver hook silver. He'll leave it, and then on the mackerel, he'll actually color it in with a permanent marker and blacken out that silver treble so that it's not creating an unnatural flash. And he reckons that he also dives that area. So he actually reckons in the video when you watch the wrap up is he says that when he's dived that reef, and his top man has got a dead bait out. And he's seen that Kuta come up to the dead bait, check that dead bait out. He gets 2 meters from that bait and he just goes back down. Because he can check. He can see that there's something wrong, there's a trace wire, you can check a hook, whatever. And all that sort of thing makes a massive difference. So, guys, there's...
all those big fish, those big Kuta, there's a reason they're big and old. They've been around the block a long time.
100%. So, just all these things that we've been chatting about, guys, are on all our... wrap-ups, our weekly wrap-ups that we've done since the 3rd of September, I think the date was. Like we said, we've learned a hell of a lot. A big thanks to all those guys that were part of any of those wrap-ups that we did. Massive thank you to all of you. We honestly couldn't have had the interest in the shows that we have had without your guys' input. And just a big thank you to each one of our sponsors that has supported us from the outset. The Club Marine, Kingfisher, Lowrance, Spro, Suzuki, Racetech Yamaha. On that note, Club Marine has got a fantastic competition on at the moment, where if you comment with and tag 3 of your mates and share the post, you can be up to win a year's free watercraft insurance for any one of your crafts. So that's a massive prize, and then there's also weekly prizes as well.
Do lucky draw now.
Yeah, we can.
So I've got a list here. and maybe if Byron is further away from this list, so you can't check it out.
Yeah.
Choose a number. Let me just see where it starts on the Excel sheet. On number from 4 through to 72.
I'll go 36.
And guys, just before Brendan mentions that winner, this is
36.
for a full Go Fish clothing hamper. So you're going to be dressed from head to toe in Go Fish gear. At the moment, we're running some insane specials on the Go Fish website on clothing, so make sure you check those out or get hold of us or check it out on our Facebook page. Who's the winner there, Brendan?
Msojo Soli Mabuza.
All right, cool. Msojo, we'll get your prize to you. Give us we'll get hold of you. We've got your details, so we'll pop you an email in the morning, and you can get your prize. But remember, there's still that massive prize of a year's free watercraft insurance from Club Marine Insurance that is going to be drawn in February. I think it's the 21st or something like that. But you can confirm all of that if you head onto the Club Marine website or onto our Facebook page, and you'll find that Club Marine post.
The key is to go into the Club Marine page.
Yeah,
Go on the
yeah.
Club Marine Facebook page, like it, and then share it to a couple of friends.
100%. The next thing we want to just chat about quickly, guys, is we've got a couple of lures here. We've asked the guys to bring a couple of lures, some of their favorite lures, pass on a couple of their favorite tips quickly for you guys to use and implement into your fishing over the next couple of weeks during the festive season. BK, let's start off with you, bro.
Okay, yeah, so this is it's a drop shot lure which I use a lot in Mozambique.
And don't underplay it, bro, because this is something you've used to win to win the Jet Ski Classic a couple of times.
Quite a nice,
Yeah.
nice drop shot. So I use a lot at Ponto, but all over Mozambique and even here in SA. But I think it's more to, again, going back to that good quality water, clear, clean water. So it's a McCarthy 5-inch paddle tail, and it's called Cherry Ice. So it's a clear body and a natural color. So what I'll also do is I'll trim this tail to make it more like a fluke. So you can see that color. It's a clear bait with a slight pink tinge in it, but again more natural. It's got a slight ridging underneath it which breaks the water. And what I do though is I'll trim the tail off and make it more like a fluke bait. So a fluke bait, you know, it's just got the two tassels at the back. And what that does is allows it to drop quicker through the water column to get down, because as Alice said, we're fishing in 35-40 meters of water. So you want it to get down as quickly as you can, and you don't want to fish more than sort of a 2-ounce head either. It fits the bait, the right size hook, about a 5.0 to 5.060. Goes near what you need to get a strong hook and a V-shaped head. But that's my go-to drop shot baits. That'll be the first drop shot bait that I put down, and yeah, I've been massively successful at right across a number of species. So that's my go-to for the. If you guys are heading off to Mozambique, I see the borders looks like they're going to be opening Ponto border in the next day or two. So yeah, make sure you stock up on these little guys. They're available at King's.
Right, just a quick question.
Well, you don't have this colour.
Do you have a trawl? Do you have a trawl drop shot? Because I know some guys who do sometimes.
Yeah,
trawl them.
I haven't trawled them, but I've thrown them into bait balls and
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah.
thing. So even tuna and that, if it's like all that's available, you know, if I don't have a popping rod or whatever ready
yeah.
and something comes up, you just bash it, throw it, you know, and work it back. And yeah, I mean, if the fish are on a frenzy,
I've heard
they'll
of
get
guys
to
who
that.
trawl them sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure it would work. You know, I think
Yeah.
I think in Durban particularly, we're so spoiled with live bait.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that we're always fishing live bait. That's
Yeah.
the thing, you know.
I think talking to exactly what Brendan's asking, it's such a valid point. Something that Guy Logan brought up and showed us works exceptionally well was fishing a stick bait when you're trawling from a spot to
Yeah.
another spot.
Yeah.
And more recently, I mean, he showed us that that technique off of LOL. I'll play the video now, but more recently, he was actually up in Mozambique, and I was chatting to him last week after his trip that he got back from Moz up in sort of Mamoli area, and sorry, north of that. But anyway, the point of it was he was going from spot to spot, about 8 k's an hour. He reckons he was trawling back up the reef, and he put out a stick bait on the surface, 8 k's an hour. He reckons he got more kuta on that stick bait than oaks were getting on baits in that area. He reckons he must have got about 10, 12 kuta on that stick bait, just going from just going up the reef back to the
But
spot.
just stick bait aside. So many guys move from one spot to the next, line up, and then they go.
Yeah.
Fish all the time. Pull some
agree,
plastics
yeah.
from one
Yeah.
spot to the other. Because between here and there, if your line's up, you're going to miss any fish that's in between.
Yeah, it's just a bit of extra effort, you know. But if you set everything up before you on the ski, then
Yeah.
it's easy enough. You
I've
know
got
what I mean?
one rod permanently that's got a Kona, a lure, and all that rod is, when I reel up, it goes in the water and I drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I've caught my species on that rod.
Exactly.
Like Brendan says, always working at. Ellie, your favourite, the
Well, that's a
bucktail.
no-brainer.
I mean, this is
Huh?
so. This is the Spro bucktail, and I know this is your favourite. You've got the Gamakatsu hook there. There's no breaking that thing. It's just. It's
No, I tell
phenomenal.
you what, this year has been a successful fishing year because of that. I'm going to call it a lure. I won't call it a jig, because, I mean, it's the design of this head, and you know, I fished with a couple of bucktails, and you know, with the prominent eyes and the what would you say, that curved shaped face,
It's the shape of that head.
the shape of that head.
Action.
You know, and I actually, I've got 6 ounce, I've got different rods, and I've been really playing with it and learning it a lot more. And definitely the 2 ounce is the way to go. You know, the jerk, even a 1.5 ounce, you know, if you're shallow enough. But for me, and you know, originally this started with dropping it and bouncing it up. And it's more successful now, throwing it as far as you can. As far, I mean, 30-pound line, really. Throw it, put your leader this long so it doesn't get caught. And throw it. Put your rod down, leave it. And then bring it back as you're drifting. If you're drifting behind me, you're just bringing it along with you, let it sink. So you've always got it wherever you want it. You actually don't ever have to reel it in.
So
And I
you're
tell
throwing
you
it-
what,
you're
I've
throwing it up current of the drift, or you're throwing it down current of the drift.
down.
Down. Okay.
Yeah. So this has probably allowed me to catch the most species I've ever caught, and I must say phenomenal lures,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And they come in a size variation between a 1/4 ounce
Yeah.
and an 8 ounce.
Yeah.
So they cover the whole spectrum, Oaks, for any current that you're fishing in, and they are just absolutely phenomenal. They've got the balance between the hook and the lead weight and that actual head that Ellie was talking about, all 100%, and they've got a variation of colours. I mean,
No, everything.
It's a good go-to look because you can drop shot with it. You
Yeah,
can
you can
jig.
even-
You can even
You
control.
control that.
Yeah.
You know,
You can.
you
I'm
cast
sure if I had to
control
throw
it.
this out,
Yeah.
especially the heavier one, you know, get it to maybe like 4 ounce odd, and you can get it 3-4 meters below the surface and
Yeah.
trawl it. Something's going to eat that.
Yeah.
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 Can't not.
I think it's the profile of it. And then, as you're saying, the lighter you can fish it, the better. And that's why the 2 ounce sort of works the best, because the lighter ones gives more action in the
Yeah.
water. So as soon as you go like a 4 ounce, it's much more difficult to get it
Yeah.
to do the darting action. But when you're on a 2 ounce, you can see when you're retrieving that back, and it's like, you know, you go watch the video. Alistair shows all the action. You'll see it if you got your glasses on it polarized. You can see that it's
Yeah.
darting almost half a meter
No,
each
it is,
way in the water like that, and it's darting, and that's the shape of the head. And I mean, it's irresistible. It's not and we talk about a lot in a couple of pre-shows. It's not a reaction bite. This is a realistic bite. So they're seeing that thing darting, and it really just looks like a bait
No,
fish.
sometimes when I'm
and they're
reeling
gonna hammer
it
it.
on like it's, I'm at alley wall or somewhere where the water's clean. Sometimes I forget to reel because when you see it coming in, you're so bloody mesmerized
Yeah,
by this
yeah,
thing
100%,
about how it's doing this. I stop reeling and I look at it and it just falls.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, it's different way of fishing.
Yeah, and when it's tight, when things are tight, I mean, when we were at Sedwana, I mean, the fishing was not wild, believe me. And we probably got 50, 60%, if not more, maybe even 70% of our fish came on the bucktail. So you had to work it, but if you worked it, then you got the fish.
Got it, yeah.
And it's a lot of times in those pressure waters where it's hot and it's glassed off and you've got baits out in that and you're not getting the bite. You know, the fish, the kuta or the pelagics are there and they're just looking at these baits coming past and they're just not interested. You get the bucktail working and you get the fish on and you get the fish on. And also what it does also raises fish to your baits as well. So a lot of time, just as you've got the bucktail coming in next to the boat, one of the rods goes away. You've actually
Yeah.
raised the bait.
That's
It's
exactly
like
what happened to us
well, it's
in
like working
Sedwana.
a kuta spoon.
With those
Exactly.
prodigals.
Yeah.
One on
Came
bucktail,
right in,
one
yeah.
on bait.
100%. The next thing I want to just so for my lure of choice, and it's going to more work probably. I mean, it's a good lure at the moment for dories, and a nice profile for dories. But it's going to work, I think, exceptionally well when it comes to that March, end of February to sort of middle of April time, when we get those snook really coming off wild off of Umkomaas, and sort of around the rivers and that. And then you're also getting those bigger kudu starting to sift through those shoals of snook as well, and chowing those smaller snook. I think this thing's really going to come into its own. So it's a little rattler stick bait. It's a 28 or 30 gram stick bait. I think it's a 28 gram stick bait. I would suggest possibly maybe changing the trebles up for slightly stronger trebles, but they are pretty sturdy trebles on here. And you can see that's taken some punishment. So that's from one outing, and I hooked 3 wahoo on this lure. It's just got an absolutely beautiful color, nice sort of pearl purple shine on the flank, and then moving into a sort of more green darkish back, imitating like a little mozzie. But I think that spat color, I think that it's just deadly. We were just talking about it earlier. It's got such a nice little action. You can either work it back. I was working it back on sort of a nice medium sort of retrieve, with just flicking it every now and then and making it sort of dart and hop along the surface like that. It does sink a bit as well, so you can actually fish it subsurface on a bit of a slower retrieve, but a great lure. And I mean, it worked for tuna and wahoo and that. And I just think, I mean, if you can catch wahoo on a stick bait, you know that thing's grafting.
Yeah, and it's again, it goes back to the profile. You can see the length of that bait, so you probably find, to your point earlier, the bait in that area is that size. If it's mozzies and those things, same sort of length bait. And you get that working through, then they're
and it's got a little rattle to it as well, which a lot of the guys that know their stick baits say that rattle is imperative. So
maybe that's why they called it a rattler.
Moving on.
The penny just dropped.
yeah. So swiftly, I feel like a bit of a cake. Now COVID got me. Brendan, your lures here.
I just brought a couple of trawling lures because I think at this time of year, I've just noticed over the last couple of years. I don't know about so much this year because I've only been out like once or twice.
How's he getting there? You're making a comeback.
But we were chatting about earlier today about the fish around this time of year.
There's a lot of smaller tuna around, and pulling plastic seems to work quite well. Sometimes I know, like I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, there was around about Christmas time, live bait wasn't working as well as pulling plastics was, and I just think this is always a favourite colour of mine. The Helco, I think it's called the Pink Tiger.
The 120.
In the 120, and then that's obviously on the kayak, and then the Rattler has got that same sort of that pink color. I think it's when that water's getting a bit cleaner, and you got those color lines. I'm not always sure on colors, but this color does seem to work quite well.
Yeah, it's got that pink in it again as well.
It just seems to obviously it just picks up a bit of a good reflection in the water, and it's got a great action on it. And if there's a lot of those tuna moving around, they're moving fast, and you watch the birds when the birds are flying head down, either sort of right up there or just over the surface. Those fish are moving. Like when we were out there yesterday, we were scratching a lot, but there were birds flying around. They're moving. They were sitting there.
See, the fish are moving fast,
they were
hunting.
watching fish around.
Yeah.
Eventually, we found them on the current line. So watch those birds and try and pull on their line, because you'll see those birds. They'll follow a line, and then 5 minutes later you'll see birds come past again on the same sort of line.
Yeah.
Try and sort of run that line.
Yeah, that's a gem, guys, listen to that, because we all go out and say, well, the birds, are they feeding? They don't have to be feeding for there to be fish there.
Yeah.
They're searching as much as we are.
They're searching, and the thing is, if there's tuna swimming in a school, they're going to follow the tuna, because they want the tuna to push the bait up. Because the tuna push the bait up and they feed on the bait.
And it's those sterickies. It's not the big gannets. And don't worry about those.
Yeah,
those little,
the smallies.
Those little black, those white with the black tip wings.
Yeah.
And they start calling to each other. You hear them shouting to each other. That's when they found fish often. And you'll see them. They'll fly. When they're just cruising, head up.
Yeah. And they're traveling.
Cruising with their head down, looking.
They're looking. They can see.
Fish underneath.
They've already found the fish. They're there.
And the higher up they fly, the deeper the fish tend to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when they're low down on the
They're
near
coming.
to the
They're
surface,
coming up to the
the
surface.
fish
Yeah,
are
they're going to push the
surface.
bait up.
That's a very good tip. Guys, yeah, I think. No, there's a little present unwrapped for you, Oaks, right there. But I think just from our side, like we said, a massive thanks to our sponsors, to you guys that are watching and have supported us. We really, really appreciate all your input, and keep coming up to us, keep asking us questions, please, because that is what this is for. What we do here every Thursday night, it's for you guys, and yeah, we enjoy doing it just as much as you guys enjoy watching it. So anything from you guys?
No, just a big thanks from me. I mean, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and yeah, hopefully we see everyone back next year.
Yeah, same. Likewise, guys. Thanks so much for all the support, and I'm sure a lot of you are going on leave now. Go and enjoy yourselves, catch some fish, try and get to a couple of destinations. Be safe, travel safe, and we'll catch you in the new year. Have an awesome Christmas and New Year.
And I guess the exciting thing about next year is we only started this halfway through the year. We've got a whole year of it next
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
And we're going to prime
Prime
summer
time.
season.
Prime
where-
time.
So
Prime
just to finish off, guys, we're going to be taking a bit of a break from now up until around the 5th, the 15th
That's
or 21st.
only on this. If we can live stream, we're going to live stream.
On the wrap up, 15th or 21st, we haven't yet decided, but it's going to be around there. But in the interim, we're going to be doing a lot of live streaming. Hopefully, Byron's going to be live streaming from Mozambique. Ali's going to be hopefully live streaming from sort of the north coast, from Belito area, and wherever he's going to be fishing. Brendan and myself live streaming off Durban and down south.
So just on that, a couple of guys have said what's happening to the live stream. There's just been a couple of technical issues which we've been trying to sort out. That some of the phones and that haven't been quite connecting. So
Also, the
we
weather
think we've
hasn't
got
really
that.
allowed it too much, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even yesterday, I think it was, no, when was it? Today.
Yeah.
I tried to sort of trawl and catching Dorado, and it's, you know, it's not nice for the oaks to watch when you bounce.
So
The wind's
sometimes
blowing
sound's
in the
not
mic
great.
and that's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So even me, I'm trying to choose it that it's enjoyable for the viewers. Tomorrow's a cracker day, so there'll definitely be some streaming tomorrow.
Yeah, I was trying to stream. My phone's just not hooking up with my
Problem with
GoPro at the
operator,
moment.
not problem with phone.
Yeah, so we'll come right there.
Too
We're
much
going
other
to get it
distance
right.
blocking that phone and out there. But yeah, no, we'll carry on the live streaming, guys. We've got the last episode of Belen on Monday, and then we're going to be taking a bit of a break for Go Fish with Friends as well until the 14th, where we're going to be launching. That'll be the 11th. We will be launching the Shelly Beach series. That's going to be really exciting. And yeah, guys, from all of us, have an awesome festive season, a really good Christmas, enjoy the family time, and all the best for the new
Give it
year.
all.
A massive
Tight
thank
lines.
you to Cam and Chad as well, yokes of biscuits.
Behind the cameras.
Behind the cameras.
Can Cam pop over here quickly?
Yeah, just
Editing.
come with the socks there, Kazi. Bring the
Yeah,
socks
come here,
there.
come here.
Hey.
It's from
You
Toti.
think my
Yeah,
horns
these
are
things,
bad?
Dad.
Check these things.
Thanks, Daddy. Oh,
Ah,
that
that's
thing's
it.
special there, bro.
Yeah.
The tourists are rubbed off on him. But Cam's the man behind
Cam's
the
the man
scenes.
behind
the
He
plan.
gets much
He's a
credit,
machine. He's a machine.
Well done, Cam.
And
Chad.
thanks very much to everyone, guys.
Chad, you get
Check
bug
you in the
off,
new
Chris.
year.
Lovely. Cheers.
Right, boys.